This is Radio Hereford FC on the road to Wembley.
Well, hello and welcome to a special FA Cup edition of Going Down the Pub with me, Frank Williams, and as usual, the ground guru, Mr. Simon Wright. How are you this evening, Simon?
Pretty bouncy, thank you very much. We're stepping outside the grounds zone.
Yes, we are, because we're looking at a home match, because we're looking at an FA Cup match, and it's Godalming. Now, I know it's pronounced Godalming because the wife told me, because she was stationed there during the war. Now, you might think, I said, darling, you're not that old. She said, no, that's what we called teacher training back in the 1980s, which is when she was down in Kingston, and a lot of teaching practices around Godalming, apparently. And it's very affluent, isn't it?
It's terribly affluent. It's quite a small place, 21,000 people. So,
so what are you going to compare that with this time?
We can't really. Double Leicester?
Two Leicesters.
Double Leicester, perhaps. Or recently selected as the fourth most desirable place to live in the UK. You can't say that about Leicester, can you? Blah, blah, blah. No.
Well, that was second, I suppose. I'm interested to know what the other three desirable places are.
I didn't look that one up.
Orcup's one. Orcup's got to be
probably,
one. Probably. Pontroilus is another.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, Didcot.
Didcot. Maybe not. Right.
Godalming then has lots and lots of history. Doomsday Book and before. So, back in the days when you were a lad, Frank, that sort of era.
Right, yeah.
One infamous claim to fame. A servant called Mary, she lived in the town and claimed that she gave birth to rabbits.
The rabbits?
Right, this was a few hundred years ago, for quite a long time. She was believed. It was only much later when she admitted that she was actually inserting dead rabbits into herself to give this impression of giving birth to...
Was her husband's name Warren, by any chance? Would have been a possible...
That's a good shot. You're good at this, aren't you? You're good at this.
Right, come on, football club.
Okay, the town's been around since forever. The football club hasn't. It's quite modest history. Played their first game in 1950. Formed by pupils from the local grammar school.
Well, it would have to be a grammar school, wouldn't it?
It's bound to be. There couldn't be anything else there, could there? Yeah. The G's, as they were called. They must have spent a lot of time thinking up that name. The G's, yeah. They took over their current ground in 1970. Volunteers converted an old waste tip into a playing surface.
Oh, a bit like Westfield.
Yeah. Good on them for doing it as well. There's certain people in this world who think things. You should go from grass pitch to rubbish dump the way around.
We won't go into
Moving on rapidly, yes. Okay, they've won their Step 5 league twice in their history, and that's really as good as it gets in terms of trophy winning, so again, quite modest. When they won their second title in 2005, that saw them promoted into Step 4. Now, since then, they've got to Step 4 playoffs 3 times, lost every time in the semi-finals. And you know what it's like when you're not quite successful enough, you lose your players. And since then, they've sort of gone backwards and sort of geographically sideways. I think somebody's got it in for them. They played in 3 different Step 4 leagues in 3 years. They were in the Southern League South and West.
Right.
1 year. Surrey.
In Surrey, yeah. And the Southern League
Central, and the Isthmian League.
And the Isthmian League.
Isthmian League South.
No wonder they've had problems because keeping players. Well, in the South and West, we notice with clubs like Tiverton, when they get promoted up, they have difficulty keeping their players because of extra travelling. Well, if you moved around 3 leagues in 4 years, and then of course last year they were relegated.
Yes, and relegated in some. I can't use the word style. Anti-style. Can I use that?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They finished very poor bottom. They won only 8 games. Conceded 128 goals. I suppose it's entertaining in a perverse kind of way. But
that's more than we scored.
Yes.
And we scored a lot of goals.
And they said they haven't got enough problems. They lost 3 points for feeling an ineligible player, just to rub it in. finished with 24 points, 14 points short of safety. Horsham scored 8 past them, and Carshalton beat them 10-0. I mean, that's pretty
but they're now
deflating.
Back in the combined
Yes,
League.
Pretty much where they started from, first time for 12 years.
Yeah.
Now, we better bear in mind that some clubs in that division can play a bit.
Right. Well, Hartley Whitney, who are no longer in that, because they've been promoted out, they were in it. And, of course, Camberley,
yes, they gave us a very, very hard...
Who gave us that
very hard game.
It was our goal of the season, wasn't it? Our winner against Camberley. We judged last year. That one, last minute of extra time, Johnny Mills scored in the trophy quarter final, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, So the league itself is of a decent Step 5 standard.
Yes,
we know
Step
that.
5. Yes.
Yeah. Now, what about how did they get to where they are in the FA Cup?
Well, they've won 2 games. Most recently, they beat Farnham 3-0. That was the qualifying round, and they had a crowd of 155, so I suppose an indication of
Farnham,
their support.
well, I'll just point out that Farnham are actually in the same league, and they are bottom of it at the moment. They have no points from their first 2 games, and they have a goal difference of -7. So they should be expected to beat them.
Yeah,
so
you would.
They haven't got a lot of form coming into this game.
No, well, all bar 2 of the squad are new players. So, they've done well in 5 league and cup games. They're unbeaten, so that's not a bad start.
They've got 2 draws, 2 draws and a win, and they are 8th in the league at the moment.
I did have a look at their lineup. You can always tell from team lineups, there's not a single Jamie in their 16.
Oh, no.
They've had it in there, really. Yeah. There's a Mert. There's a Pierce. You'd expect a Pierce. Probably half a dozen Pierce, sorry. Yes, a Pierce, yes. You expect half a dozen of those in Surrey, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's a Trey. There's a Eugene. But Jamies, are there? None.
Well, that's fatal.
It is. It is. They're not going to go anywhere. Sorry, guys. With no Jamies.
Yeah, but I understand in the last round of the Cup they only named 5 substitutes, but they're entitled to 7 in a FA Cup match. So they're probably working off a limited squad at the moment. Mind you, we would struggle to name 7 subs at the moment.
We
without
certainly
injuries.
would, wouldn't we? Be the first 2 supporters coming to the turnstiles at the moment. Now their standout name is Eugene Bongo.
Excellent.
He's got to be a drummer, hasn't he?
Eugene Bongo.
He ought to be a drummer if he isn't,
I love it.
I think that's where your son could grow his career. If he changed his name to Bongo.
He's doing all right. Actually.
He's doing all right as a drummer, but the missing link.
He's drumming tonight in the production of Brassed Off at the Grand Theatre in Wolverhampton. Opening night tonight for a fortnight's run. So
good to hear it.
So I don't know if they have somebody called Eugene Bongo in drums in a musical play about a colliery brass band in the northwest of England.
No, I suppose it's a stretch, isn't it? It's a bit of a stretch.
That's a great name.
It's great, And I think Sean Lyle, their big striker, he has an awful lot of hair, let's say. I've seen pictures of the front and the rear view, and he's got a remarkable amount of hair.
He puts it in curlers, though.
It looks like it, yes. He's
in for a rough time.
He's a brave man, he certainly is.
So all you Meadow Enders who might be listening to this, get ready to meet this
I'm afraid.
Sean Lyle.
Yeah.
Right.
Their manager, not a name I'm familiar with, Simon Funnell. He's claimed to be an ex-pro, but as far as I can see, that consists of playing for Brighton, which probably doesn't really impress us very much, does it?
Not at all.
No. His predecessor only lasted 7 months.
Well, so that was overseeing a relegation, though, wasn't it?
Well, it was.
With their record last year.
Yeah.
Right.
And, I mean, the point really, I suppose, is we really need Hereford to do the business first time, not a replay, please.
It's a long way if we have to go for a replay.
136 miles,
that would be midweek.
Indeed. If
there is a replay, it'll be the following Tuesday or Wednesday, won't it? Whichever they do,
I mean, fine, London Bulls will like it, but it's a right pain for the rest of us, It's a small ground and a long way from home, so...
But,
these guys...
wet finger in the air
exactly.
again. Apparently the capacity is 3,000. But looking at the photographs, I can't. Well, most of them would be accommodated on grass banking. It is a Hartley Whitney standard of ground, isn't it? It's that league. That's where they've come from. But maybe they've got a garden shed as a turnstile.
Oh yes, we had some pictures of that garden shed. They probably haven't got it anymore.
Well, that's just a little taster for you for FA Cup first qualifying round match against Godalming a week on Saturday at Edgar Street. Looking forward to that, and maybe the beginnings of a good FA Cup run this year. Certainly hope so. Perhaps we'll have a few injured players back by then. Would be rather nice.
Please.
Okay, we'll stop at that point, and we're going to carry on and do some more recording in a minute after you've bought me yet another pint. It's my round. I'm sorry. I'll repeat, after you've bought me another pint. Okay, so we'll see you all again soon.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks very much for listening, and enjoy the atmosphere of an FA Cup game at Edgar Street.
This is Radio Hereford FC on the road to Wembley.